In the spring of 1945, as Allied forces stormed across a collapsing Germany, they began to uncover the twisted secrets of the Third Reich. In hidden underground bunkers and remote forest laboratories, they found evidence of a scientific and technological ambition that was both brilliant and terrifying. They found the Messerschmitt Me-262, the world's first operational jet fighter, a plane so fast and advanced that it swept Allied bombers from the skies. They found the V-2 rocket, a weapon that could travel at supersonic speeds, the precursor to the ballistic missiles that would define the Cold War. And in a forgotten warehouse, they found the ghostly bat-like shell of the Horten Ho-229, a jet-powered flying wing that looked more like a futuristic stealth bomber from the 21st century than a product of the 1940s. The Allies were stunned. They realized they had been fighting an enemy whose technological vision was years, perhaps even decades ahead of their own. But as they interrogated captured Nazi scientists and high-ranking SS officers, they began to hear whispers of something else. A project so secret, so radical, that it was never deployed. A weapon spoken of with a mixture of fear and awe, a Wunderwaffe, or wonder weapon, that was unlike anything the world had ever seen. For decades it was dismissed as a myth, the last desperate propaganda of a dying regime. But what if it was real? This is the story of the forgotten blueprints, the declassified files, and the eyewitness accounts that point to the Third Reich's most audacious and secret project, the Nazi flying saucer. To understand how such a fantastic idea could be taken seriously, one must first appreciate the sheer innovative genius of German aeronautical engineering during that era. While the Allies were perfecting propeller-driven aircraft, German designers were already breaking the sound barrier and harnessing the power of jet propulsion. The appearance of the Me-262 in the skies over Europe in 1944 was a profound shock to Allied pilots. It was faster, climbed higher, and was more heavily armed than any fighter plane they had. It was a clear signal that the rules of air combat had changed forever. But even the Me-262 paled in comparison to the secrecy and sophistication surrounding the Horten Ho-229. Developed by the Horten brothers, this flying wing was a masterpiece of aerodynamic design. It had no tail, its fuselage blended seamlessly into its wings, and it was powered by 2 jet engines. Its shape was so advanced that, decades later, aerospace engineers would note its striking resemblance to the American B-2 stealth bomber. The fact that Nazi Germany was on the verge of mass-producing such a futuristic aircraft in 1945 is a testament to their willingness to abandon conventional designs and embrace the radical. This proven track record of innovation is the factual bedrock upon which the legend of the Nazi saucer is built. If they could build a stealth bomber in the 1940s, what else were they capable of? The first hints of these unconventional projects emerged from the chaos of post-war Europe. As Allied intelligence officers began the massive task of debriefing thousands of German scientists and engineers, they started to hear strange, consistent stories. An engineer named Rudolf Schriever claimed that he had designed a Flugkreisel, or flying gyro, a circular aircraft with a cockpit in the center, surrounded by a ring of rotating blades that acted like a helicopter. He claimed a prototype had been built near Prague and had flown in 1944. Separately, another engineer, Otto Habermohl, was interrogated and reportedly confessed to working on a similar circular aircraft. An Austrian inventor named Victor Schauberger, who had been forced to work for the SS, also claimed to have been developing a repulsin, a saucer-shaped device that used a vortex turbine to generate lift, a principle he called implosion technology. Each story on its own could be dismissed as the ravings of a single man, but taken together, they began to paint a picture of multiple independent research projects, all aimed at achieving vertical takeoff and flight using a circular airframe. But the most bizarre and intriguing part of the legend goes beyond conventional engineering. It delves into the dark, esoteric world of Nazi occultism. According to a persistent and popular theory, the true inspiration for these flying machines did not come from a wind tunnel, but from a séance. The story centers on a secret society known as the Vril Society, a group of nationalist mystics in Munich who were obsessed with ancient myths and alternative power sources. The society's leader was allegedly a beautiful and enigmatic young medium named Maria Orsic. According to the legend, Orsic claimed to be in telepathic contact with an alien civilization from the Aldebaran star system. In a series of trances, she supposedly received detailed technical blueprints for an interdimensional flight machine. These psychic transmissions were then allegedly passed on to German scientists, providing the foundational concepts for the Vril and Haunebu series of saucer-shaped craft. This esoteric tale, mixing science fiction with Nazi history, adds a layer of profound mystery to the legend. While it's easy to dismiss as pure fantasy, it speaks to the strange intersection of advanced science and irrational occult beliefs that existed within the highest echelons of the Third Reich. While the stories of psychic mediums and flying gyros could be easily dismissed as wartime fantasy or post-war exaggeration, Allied intelligence began to piece together evidence of a far more concrete and far more disturbing secret project. This project was not about aerodynamics. It was about a new, physics-defying power source. The rumors emanated from a top-secret SS facility in occupied Poland, near the Wenceslas mine. The project was given a code name that, on its own, was enough to send a chill down a spy's spine. They called it Die Glocke, the bell, and according to the fragmented, terrifying accounts that have leaked out over the decades, it wasn't just a new type of engine or flying machine. It was rumored to be a machine that could manipulate gravity, generate immense energy, and perhaps even warp time and space itself. The bell was the missing piece of the puzzle, the theoretical power source that could turn a saucer-shaped aircraft from a novel curiosity into a weapon of unimaginable power. While the development of unconventional saucer-shaped aircraft was a closely guarded secret of the Third Reich, there was another project, hidden even deeper in the shadows, that was considered the key to unlocking their ultimate potential. The various Flugkreisel and Vril designs were revolutionary airframes, but they were still limited by conventional engine technology. To achieve true aerial supremacy, the Nazis needed a new kind of power source, a propulsion system that could defy gravity itself. This quest for a physics-bending engine led to the creation of the most secret, most expensive, and most terrifying project in their entire arsenal of wonder weapons. It was a secret within a secret, a program known only to the highest echelons of the SS. Its codename was Die Glocke, the bell. The story of the bell comes to us primarily from the work of one man, Igor Witkowski, a Polish military journalist and historian. In the late 1990s, Witkowski claimed to have been given access to a set of classified Polish government archives. Within those archives, he reportedly saw the interrogation transcripts of a high-ranking SS officer named Jakob Sporenberg. After the war, Sporenberg was captured and put on trial in Poland for war crimes. During his interrogation by Polish intelligence, he allegedly confessed to his knowledge of a top-secret SS project that he believed was more important than the atomic bomb. The details he provided were the first and only direct account of Die Glocke. According to these transcripts, the bell was a large, heavy object roughly 9 feet in diameter and 12 to 15 feet high, shaped exactly like its namesake. It was crafted from a hard, heavy metal, and its casing was covered in ceramic. Inside this bell-shaped housing were 2 massive, counter-rotating cylinders, which were filled with a strange, violet-colored, mercury-like substance. This substance was given the code name Zerum 525, and it was stored in tall, thin thermos-like flasks, a meter high, encased in lead. The testing for this bizarre device took place in a remote and heavily guarded SS facility, deep in the forests of Silesia, near the Wenceslas mine and the Czech border. At the heart of this facility, the SS constructed a strange, monumental structure to house the experiments. It was a circular, henge-like ring of reinforced concrete, with a diameter of about 100 feet. This structure, which has come to be known as the henge, still exists today, a silent and perplexing ruin in the middle of a Polish forest. It is the only piece of physical, tangible evidence connected to the legend of the bell. Inside this henge, the bell was suspended. When it was activated, it consumed a massive amount of electrical power, and it would emit a faint, eerie blue glow. The 2 cylinders inside would spin in opposite directions at incredible speeds, and the device would emit a humming, buzzing sound, described by Sporenberg as being like the sound of a beehive. But it was the effects of the activated device that were truly terrifying. According to the interrogation transcripts, the bell projected a powerful, invisible energy field, a torsion field, that affected a zone of roughly 600 to 1,000 feet around the henge. Within this zone, devastating biological effects were observed. Any plant life in the area would wither and decay into a greasy black sludge within a matter of hours, all cellular structure seemingly destroyed. Animals, such as frogs and mice, that were placed within the field, would die almost instantly. Their blood would gel and separate into distinct layers, and strange crystalline structures would form within their tissues. The human cost was even higher. Several of the original scientists assigned to the project reportedly died during the first activations, suffering from tremors, memory loss, and a rapid cancerous decay. The surviving personnel would complain of a metallic taste in their mouths and severe headaches after each test. The purpose of all this, it's theorized, was to create a powerful anti-gravity field. By creating a vortex of torsion energy, the SS scientists were attempting to manipulate the fabric of space-time itself to create a propulsion system that didn't push against the air, but pushed against the universe. It was the ultimate power source, the engine that could lift their saucer-shaped airframes to incredible speeds and allow them to perform maneuvers that were impossible for any conventional aircraft. The man in charge of this monumental and monstrous project was one of the most mysterious and powerful figures in the entire Third Reich, SS General Hans Kammler. Kammler was not a typical military man. He was a doctor of engineering, a brilliant but utterly ruthless organizer who had been responsible for constructing the concentration camps, including the gas chambers and crematoria at Auschwitz. He was an architect of genocide. By the end of the war, his power was immense. He was given total control over all of Germany's most secret weapons projects, including the V-2 rocket program, the development of jet aircraft, and, according to the legend, Die Glocke. He answered only to Heinrich Himmler and Adolf Hitler himself. Kammler was a man obsessed with results, a technocrat who pursued advanced technology with a religious fervor and a complete lack of moral restraint. He was the dark high priest of the Nazi wonder weapons cult. As the war drew to a close in the spring of 1945, with the Soviet Red Army closing in on the secret facility in Poland, Kammler knew the game was up. But he held the keys to the kingdom. He was in possession of the Third Reich's most advanced and valuable scientific secrets, and he had no intention of letting them fall into the hands of the advancing Allies. In the final chaotic days of the war, a mass evacuation of the Wenceslas mine was ordered. According to Sporenberg's testimony, the 60 scientists who made up the Bell's research team were all executed by the SS to ensure their silence. And then Kammler, the Bell itself and all of its technical blueprints vanished. He and the device simply disappeared from history. As the Soviet army overran the secret facility, they found the concrete henge, the strange and empty testing structure, but the prize was gone. General Hans Kammler, his top scientists, and the Bell itself had vanished. This disappearance has fueled one of the most enduring legends of the 20th century, the idea of a secret Nazi escape, a final clandestine exodus from a defeated Germany to a hidden base from which they would continue their work and perhaps one day return. The search for the Bell and for Hans Kammler now shifts from the war-torn forests of Poland to the most remote and inhospitable place on Earth, the frozen white wasteland of Antarctica. The war in Europe was over. The Third Reich had crumbled into dust and ruins. But as the Allied powers began the monumental task of sorting through the wreckage, they realized that some of the most important pieces were missing. Germany's most advanced and terrifying secrets, the plans, the prototypes, and the brilliant, ruthless minds that had created them, had vanished. At the top of the missing list was SS General Hans Kammler, the engineer of genocide who had become the Reich's master of secret weapons. And with him, his ultimate prize, the physics-defying device known as Die Glocke, the Bell, had also disappeared. In the chaotic aftermath of the war, a silent, frantic hunt began. Allied intelligence agencies scoured the fallen Reich, desperate to find Kammler and his secrets before the Soviets did. His vanishing act would give birth to a series of extraordinary theories, a secret history that connects the fall of Nazi Germany to the dawn of a new and mysterious age. The most enduring and cinematic of these theories involves a last-ditch, clandestine escape to the most remote place on Earth. This theory posits that Kammler, realizing the war was lost, initiated a pre-planned evacuation protocol. The weapon was a massive German U-boat fleet, which included several long-range electro-boots, the most advanced submarines in the world. In the final days of the war, several of these U-boats did, in fact, make documented voyages to South America, proving their long-range capabilities. The destination, according to the legend, was a secret Nazi base in Antarctica. This theory is rooted in a real historical event, a major German Antarctic expedition in 1938 and 1939. During this expedition, the Nazis surveyed a vast 1 million square mile territory of the continent, dropping swastika flags from their planes and christening it Neuschwabenland or New Swabia. Proponents of the theory believe that the Germans discovered a vast, geothermally active, ice-free oasis in the mountains, a perfect location for a hidden, self-sufficient base, known in the lore as Base 211. The narrative is that Kammler used a specially modified U-boat to transport the Belle, its blueprints and a handful of his top scientists to this secret Antarctic redoubt where they would continue their work, waiting for the day they could re-emerge. This theory is often bolstered by the story of Admiral Richard Byrd's massive U.S. Navy expedition to Antarctica in 1946, called Operation High Jump. While officially a scientific mission, its massive military scale, complete with an aircraft carrier and thousands of troops, has led many to believe it was actually a secret and perhaps unsuccessful mission to find and destroy this hidden Nazi base. However, a second, more historically plausible, though no less conspiratorial theory exists. This theory suggests that the pragmatic and utterly amoral Hans Kammler did not escape. Instead, he used his possession of Germany's most advanced secrets as the ultimate bargaining chip. Knowing the war was lost and that he would be tried as a major war criminal for his role in the Holocaust, Kammler allegedly made a secret deal. In the final days of the war, he secretly surrendered to American forces under the command of General George S. Patton, offering them a prize beyond their wildest dreams, the V-2 rocket program, jet aircraft technology, and most importantly, the secrets to the Belle and the Saucer projects. In exchange, he wanted only one thing: complete immunity from prosecution and a new identity, allowing him to disappear forever. This theory leads directly to one of the most well-documented and morally ambiguous secret programs of the Cold War. It was called Operation Paperclip. Officially, Operation Paperclip was a top-secret U.S. program approved by President Truman to identify, recruit, and bring to America the top German scientists who had worked on the Reich's advanced rocketry. The public justification was simple: if we don't get them, the Soviets will. The program was a stunning success in this regard, bringing over 1,600 German scientists and their families to the United States, most famously Wernher von Braun and his team, who would go on to build the Saturn V rocket that took America to the moon. But the alternative theory argues that the recruitment of rocket scientists was just the public-facing cover story. The real hidden prize of Operation Paperclip was the quiet, unacknowledged recruitment of the very scientists who had worked on the even more secret projects: the Horten flying wing, the Saucer designs, and perhaps even Kammler himself or members of his Belle project team. These men, whose work was considered too fantastic or too sensitive to ever be made public, were allegedly given new identities and put to work in the most secret American military research facilities like Area 51 and Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. It is here that the story takes its most dramatic turn. The timeline is too perfect to be a coincidence. In 1945, Operation Paperclip begins, secretly bringing hundreds of Nazi Germany's most brilliant and unconventional scientific minds to America. Just 2 years later, in 1947, a new and mysterious phenomenon begins in the skies over the very country where these scientists were now working. The modern UFO era begins. In June of 1947, a private pilot named Kenneth Arnold, flying over the Cascade Mountains in Washington state, reported seeing 9 crescent-shaped objects flying in formation at incredible speed. He described their movement as being like a saucer if you skip it across the water. The press coined the term flying saucer, and the phrase entered the global lexicon. Just a few weeks later, in July of 1947, the most famous UFO incident in history occurred. Something crashed on a remote ranch near Roswell, New Mexico. The local Army airfield initially issued a press release stating they had recovered a flying disc. They quickly retracted that statement, claiming the object was just a conventional weather balloon, a story they would stick to for decades. The timing was extraordinary. At the exact moment that captured Nazi scientists, experts in radical, unconventional aerospace designs, were being secretly integrated into American military research, a wave of sightings of strange, unconventional aircraft was beginning. The world was looking for little green men, for visitors from other planets. But was the answer not in the stars, but in the classified files of Operation Paperclip? Were the flying saucers of the late 1940s not extraterrestrial, but man-made, secretly test-flown and reverse-engineered from the forgotten blueprints of the Third Reich? The timing was too perfect to be a coincidence. In 1945, the US government secretly imported over 1,000 of Nazi Germany's most brilliant scientific minds under Operation Paperclip. Just 2 years later, the skies over America came alive with sightings of strange, unconventional aircraft. The world was suddenly obsessed with flying saucers, looking to the stars for an explanation. But perhaps the answer wasn't in the stars at all. A compelling and disturbing theory re-examines the most famous UFO incident in history, the 1947 Roswell crash, not as an extraterrestrial event, but as a catastrophic failure of a top-secret American test flight using reverse-engineered Nazi technology. Proponents of this theory argue that the crashed flying disc was not an alien spaceship, but an advanced crescent-shaped flying wing, a direct descendant of the Horton Ho 229. This would explain the military's frantic cover-up. They weren't hiding aliens, they were hiding the fact that they were in possession of revolutionary captured technology. Some versions of this theory go even further, suggesting that the infamous alien bodies reported at the crash site were actually human test subjects, perhaps disabled individuals or prisoners of war used in cruel high-G flight experiments, a horrifying echo of the same amoral science practiced by the Nazis. If true, the Roswell cover-up wasn't just hiding a secret aircraft, it was hiding a war crime. Whether or not the Roswell incident was a failed Nazi-derived test flight, it marked a turning point. For the next 50 years, the most advanced aerospace development in the United States went black. While the public saw the progress of NASA, a secret world of classified aircraft was being born in the deserts of Nevada and California, at places like Area 51 and the Skunk Works. The public would only learn about these projects decades after they were already operational. The U-2 spy plane, the SR-71 Blackbird that could outrun missiles, and the F-117A Nighthawk stealth fighter. These were all revolutionary aircraft that flew in secret for years, their existence officially denied. These proven black projects establish a clear and undeniable history of the US government's ability to successfully develop and hide paradigm-shifting aviation technology. They are the tip of a very large, very secret iceberg. And for decades, researchers have claimed that hidden deeper within that iceberg is the ultimate prize, a fully operational anti-gravity craft, a direct descendant of the technology sought by Hans Kammler and his Bell project. This brings us to the modern legend of the TR-3B Astra, a massive triangular nuclear-powered craft that is a staple of modern UFO lore. According to the claims, the TR-3B is a top-secret reconnaissance aircraft, capable of hovering silently and accelerating at impossible speeds. Its alleged propulsion system is a direct echo of the theories surrounding Die Glocke. It supposedly uses a magnetic field disruptor, a spinning plasma-filled ring that creates a vortex, reducing the craft's mass and the pull of gravity on it by up to 89%. This allows it to be propelled by conventional thrusters at speeds and G-forces that would be impossible for a normal aircraft. This theory is often used to explain the persistent waves of flying triangle sightings around the world, from the famous Belgian UFO wave of the late 1980s to the Phoenix Lights incident in 1997, where thousands of people saw a silent V-shaped craft, the size of a commercial airliner, drift slowly over the city. While the existence of the TR-3B remains unconfirmed in 2019, the US Navy released a series of patents for seemingly impossible technologies, including a craft using an inertial mass reduction device, which many researchers point to as potential real-world evidence of the very anti-gravity principles the TR-3B is said to use. This brings us to today. After decades of official denial and ridicule, the US government has made a stunning reversal. The Pentagon has officially declassified and released a series of videos captured by its own fighter pilots, showing unidentified aerial phenomena, or UAPs. These videos, given the nicknames Tic Tac, Gimbal, and Go Fast, show objects performing maneuvers that defy the known laws of physics. They accelerate instantaneously, change direction with no loss of speed, and move seamlessly between the air and the sea. The government's official position is that they do not know what these objects are, but they acknowledge that they display a technology far in advance of anything in the known American or international arsenal. This disclosure has been celebrated by the UFO community as a step towards admitting we are not alone in the universe. But the declassified lens perspective suggests a different, more cynical interpretation. Is the government's newfound transparency a genuine admission of ignorance? Or is it a masterful piece of psychological warfare, a slow-drip disclosure designed to gradually prepare the public for the eventual unveiling of their own man-made anti-gravity technology? Are they admitting they see UFOs to hide the fact that these are actually their secret aircraft, the modern descendants of Project Paperclip? It would be the ultimate cover-up. By framing their own secret technology as unidentified or potentially alien, they can test it openly while keeping its true nature and origin a complete secret. It allows them to maintain a massive technological advantage, while the rest of the world and their own citizens look to the stars for answers. So, has the forgotten blueprint for a Nazi flying saucer finally been found? The answer is not a simple yes or no. The blueprint may not be a single piece of paper, but a technological bloodline, a secret history of radical innovation that was born in the desperate final days of the Third Reich, was captured and secretly nurtured in the classified labs of the American military-industrial complex, and is now perhaps finally emerging into our skies. The evidence is circumstantial, but the narrative is compelling. The Nazis did have the scientific genius. The US government did capture their scientists and immediately began hiding their most advanced projects. And today, the government does admit to seeing craft that perform in ways that these secret projects once only dreamed of. The final question then is not whether flying saucers are real. The final question is, are the strange lights we see in the sky visitors from another world? Or are they the ghosts of the Third Reich, resurrected in the secret hangars of Area 51?